There are two things that are absolutely true. Grandma loves you, and she would never say no to McDonald's. So treat yourself to a Grandma McFlurry with your order today. It's what Grandma would want. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries, plus napkins, plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
Last year, they went and took it.
He struck him out looking.
This year,
the Texas Rangers win the World Series.
They're here to run it back.
It's over.
This is Believe in Texas Rangers, hosted by Mitch Ferreldis.
7-game homestand is in the books. Now begins a lengthy road trip for the Texas Rangers, and it starts with that other team in the state of Texas. Welcome into another edition of Believe in Texas Rangers as we get things going here. Following the final game of Rangers A's, which was a 3-game set. In total, there were 7 games played at Globe Life Park, all of them against interdivision foes, with the other team from the state of Texas, meaning the Houston Astros, and then the Oakland Athletics. And somehow the Rangers split with the Astros and then lose the series to the Athletics 2-3, or 2-1, I should say. Lost 2 games out of the 3. That probably would have been the more correct way to say it. So as a result, they only win 3 games out of the 7 at home. And I tell you what, I didn't anticipate leaving you guys on Sunday, coming in on this Thursday evening that I'm taping this. You'll hear this Friday morning, and having to talk about 2 games lost to the Oakland freaking Athletics. I mean, look, with respect to the players that are paid to play the game and the coaches that are asked to coach these players, the Oakland Athletics, as we very well know, are an absolute mockery of the current state of baseball. That is very, very clear. It's very frustrating as an interdivision rival, or foe, I guess would be the proper term, that the Rangers only got out of there with 1 win. And as far as the offense that we have been applauding for the most part of the season is concerned, scored a total of 9 runs. I mean, this is the frustrating part. They scored 9 runs to Oakland's 7. They outscored the A's, and they're leaving DFW with only 1 win against this team. So it's a very frustrating way to end the homestand. Thank goodness the wins and losses were alternated in that Oakland series, so it at least made up for the fact that they're not on a losing streak or a winning streak, etc. But man, that's just a team that you have to pummel into the dirt, man. And I get it. This team is decimated by injuries. There's different aspects that went into each of the losses. We're going to start with the most recent one here in just a second. But regardless of the scenario, this is the team that you absolutely, 100% of the time, have to absolutely beat into the dirt. And that just didn't happen, unfortunately, 2 of the 3 nights. So today's game, Thursday's game against the A's, a 1-0 finish. The Rangers could only muster one hit off of lefty starter JP Sears. And of course, were, unable to force any runs around. Their best opportunity, and I'm looking back at it now, and you all know what I'm referring to. In the bottom of the 7th, they were able to chase JP Sears from the game, force Austin Adams to come in, and everything was set up perfectly for the most part. Adolis Garcia gets a hit. Jonah Heim gets hit. Not a hit. He gets hit. He gets plunked. And then Jared Walsh comes in to pinch hit for Ezekiel Duran, and you set up a perfect matchup of a left-handed hitter against the right-handed pitcher because Adams had come in to face Heim, etc. I've watched the play several times. I can understand, and this is going to anger a lot of you, I understand. I can understand completely the reasoning as to why they would not consider this an infield fly rule. I disagree with the decision, however. I don't care that it required Zach Geloff, the second baseman for the A's, to exert extraneous effort in order to make this catch. I don't care that he had to go into a diving or sliding motion, technically speaking, in order to make the catch. It is a pop-up in the infield with runners on in a situation where any other infielder, anybody who would have been able to catch that ball, should have been able to catch that ball. Geloff in this scenario just happened to be the 1 out of 100 versus the 99 others. And yet, here we are talking about how it wasn't called. Here's the devil's advocacy part of it. Did the ball get high enough in the air to it even be considered an easily catchable ball? Because watching it frame by frame, and I'm telling you, I'm reading through Kennedy Landry's Twitter. She does a great job covering this team for MLB.com. I'm reading through. The explanations are there. I'm watching this play frame by frame. Wherever he was positioned, which apparently was middle of the dirt, as best as I can see, he clearly had enough time to put himself in a position to catch the ball normally, if we want to call it that. But the explanation that was given to Bruce Bochy, the manager, is that Geloff had to give extraordinary effort in order to make that catch. But how would you know that he would have needed extraordinary effort to make that catch until he had to go into his slide? Which at what point are we deciding when it is infield fly or not? Infield fly rule, technically speaking, is supposed to be called in the air, right? Did I miss something? Why does infield fly rule have to be called at the point of the ball descent? It should just be called at the point that the ball reaches its peak. I don't know. It was very frustrating. As far as the rule is concerned, the players have to be camped in position underneath the baseball, and none of the three players, the pitcher, the first baseman, and second baseman, were. Obviously, with Geloff having to come in and try and make a sliding catch on it, obviously states that he wasn't in position underneath the ball. I believe that was the quote from A's manager Mark Kotze after the game. But either way, I think plenty of us have digested this play enough times where, look, first baseman, I can buy that he would have to go through extraordinary effort to make that play. Austin Adams is standing off the mound ready to witness what happens. It's just he's not a part of the catch because, one, typically pitchers don't get involved in pop flies in the infield. And two, he's noticing Geloff, on a sprint in. Is the sprint what's considered the extraordinary effort? The fact that he had to mad dash in for the baseball? Here's another devil's advocacy point with this. Nobody ran. And by nobody, I mean Adolis Garcia didn't eventually take off from second base to third, and Jonah Heim didn't take off from first to second. This isn't to say that, oh, this would have guaranteed at least one of them would have been safe and the inning could have continued. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you have to still be aware of what's going on. And I'm pretty sure the umpire yells loud enough that you would be able to hear or not hear them call infield fly. And the reaction we got from the two base runners was reasonable, I will say, that they stayed very much near the base or on the base in what was expected to be an easy out. But once that ball hits the grass, and you knew for a fact that infield fly wasn't called, because here's the other thing. If you at least try to go to the base, maybe then you could force another throwing error if the infield fly wasn't called or was called. I understand once it's considered an out, runners have the freedom to just advance to the next base should they desire, right? They obviously have to wait for the ball to make contact to the ground, and that's why some players like to fake the catch so that they can try and catch a runner sleeping. But there's still an opportunity for you, once you notice the ball is a miss or away from the nearest player, you can try and attempt to take the next base. And instead, the A's are able to lackadaisically end the inning with a little toss over to second, or a little toss over to third, and then a little toss over to second to wrap things up. And I get it, that was the one chance, or that seemingly was the one chance for the Rangers today. They had 3 walks in this game. And then, of course, I mentioned Heim getting hit by the pitch. So they had a total of 5 base runners today. It just wasn't their day. In comparison, the A's only had 4 hits, but their one of those 4 hits was a home run. So, there you have it. Let's switch to some positives at least. John Gray looked a lot better today. 9 strikeouts in 5 innings. 91 pitches, 61 of them strikes. So, if nothing else, he was able to lower the ERA quite a bit. But the location issues still remain, it would appear. Fantastic starts to the year continue for both Jacob Latz and Jose Urena, and really pleased to see how well Urena is pitching, given that he has had plenty of struggles. He, if you're not aware, infamously is known for throwing in on Ronald Acuna Jr. and basically ending his season because of the hand injury, because it was thrown that hard. But as after that, Jose had bounced around a bit, hasn't been able to land anywhere. And so far, so good coming out of the Rangers bullpen. We'll take it. We'll absolutely take it. As far as that series is concerned, hopefully that's just a weird blip on the radar. The A's have some really talented young players, but again, they are not a team that you should be losing to, especially 2 times out of 3. At home in front of your crowd. Speaking in front of the home crowd, the Astros series kind of ended on a dud. We had regrouped after the Sunday Night Baseball loss, where the Rangers, once again, offense was rather quiet. They didn't score their one and only run until the bottom of the 9th inning. And then they followed it up with what looked like it was going to be a 3rd win in the series, because they scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 1st inning. They lost 10-5. Which I think tells you everything you need to know about what happened in that game. Other notable games from throughout the week before we focus on a few more individual performances. The April 9th game against the A's is really, really frustrating and highlights once again the early season struggles for Jose Leclerc, who once again had an opportunity to hold the game down and unfortunately could not do that as a result. It also doesn't help when Shea Langoliers hits 3 home runs for the A's in that game. He was literally responsible for every single one of their runs. But it wasted another good Nate Eovaldi start. David Robertson got credited with a blown save, but the Rangers were obviously able to respond in their own right. Kirby Yates had another great outing. He continues to hold down with his ERA. But this is another instance of struggles shown by Jose Leclerc. And to paraphrase the quote, Bruce Bochy's not concerned. It's way too early for him to make any decisions on that. But I don't know. Do you want to win these close games? And I don't mean to say that as like snark. One-run games can matter a lot. Closing games matters a lot. Having a closer matters a lot. Think about some of the teams that have gone out and specifically tried to get a guy that is perfect for that ninth inning role. The Baltimore Orioles, for example, had Felix Bautista, very clearly a great closer, on the shelf for the year, of course, dealing with the elbow injury. And they signed Craig Kimbrell. And Kimbrell is now the Baltimore Orioles closer for this year. The Diamondbacks, midway through last season, they had been going by committee. Paul Sewald, acquired in a trade. Get him for an extra year this year. He's on the injured list right now, but he's very clearly the most important part of that bullpen. He has a defined role. Jose has a defined role, but he's not doing very well in his defined role right now. And pretty soon, I think there's going to need to be a serious evaluation as to whether or not Jose should continue in that role. Because right now, it is not a situation where he should be continuing in this role, especially with how well, one, Kirby Yates is pitching, and two, you spent the offseason acquiring more guys for bullpen help after losing Aroldis Chapman in free agency. And they're fully healthy. Some of them are pitching great. You lose Josh Spores, of course. So completely contradict my fully healthy comment. But the point being is that you have options. And you have very feasible options. And guys that have experience being closer in past lives. Don't wait too long on this, or it's going to bite you. And I would hope that it not bite them soon. So as a result, the home
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. See ebaymotors.com.
There are two things that are absolutely true. Grandma loves you, and she would never say no to McDonald's. So treat yourself to a Grandma McFlurry with your order today. It's what Grandma would want. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
The sweet sound of sports you love from Sling. The collide of football pads. The squeak of shoes on a basketball court. The crack of the bat on a home run. The slice of skates cutting across the ice. But what about this one? That's the sound of all the sports you love, all at once. Starting at $40 a month. Experience it all live with Sling.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries plus napkins plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
stand ends 3-4, the record for the Rangers in that homestand. They're currently 7-6 as they're now making their way on the road to that other team in the state of Texas. So they'll be in Houston for 3. We'll preview that series momentarily. But I was looking again at the schedule, and man, oh man, it's a good thing the Rangers got a couple of off days early on in the season, because they're in the midst of a 17-game gauntlet right now, dating back to April 5th and going up until April 21st. The Rangers do not have a single off day had 7 games at home, and are now set to embark on this road trip where they will play another 10 games in Houston. So not a ton of travel time as far as that one's concerned. But then Detroit and Atlanta. So you're going from within your own state, then you're going northeast to Detroit, and then you got to go southeast to Atlanta. And you don't get a day off either. So I really hope that the Rangers make the most of this road trip in terms of resting some of their guys or giving some of their guys a day off. I know Wyatt Langford got his first day off a couple nights ago, so that's encouraging that they were able to give him some time. But there's some really important games coming up. You got a Detroit Tigers team that's very frisky to start the year. They're looking really good with a lot of their young guys. The Atlanta Braves, who were the best team in the National League last year. The Astros are very much struggling, but you can never count out your division rival, right? So some really important games upcoming that we'll dive into more later. All right, I want to touch on some positives before we hit on some other news and notes things. Talked on Sunday, I did, about Cody Bradford and how he had his defining performance because it was his second start in the majors. It was against the Astros. It was at home. It was by far his greatest outing of the season. Well, then he went out again, and I'll say with the caveat against the A's, but Cody, once again, very much impressed, has now collected his 3rd win of the year. He started 3 games and he's gotten wins in all of them. This time he pitched into the 7th inning, 6 2/3, 5 hits, an unearned run, a walk, and 7 strikeouts to get that 3rd win of the year in the win over the A's. I'm curious to see how he does on the road. We've gotten 3 games out of Cody at home, and he's kept opposing bats silent. And he's been a needed reprieve for this team that has been without a lot of their key guys in the rotation to start the year. And we have known that for a long while, that this team was going to be not held back. That's not the right word. This team was going to be lacking some key members of the rotation. There, that's the proper way to say words. And Cody has done excellent. And I'll say it again. I don't think Cody is going anywhere anytime soon if it comes to his spot to the rotation. You've got Michael Lorenzen making another rehab start, I believe, in Round Rock. You've got Tyler Mahle, who's going to come back eventually. Max Scherzer could be back by next month. Who knows? Jacob deGrom towards the end of the year. I still just don't see a scenario, and I know it's early, but I don't see a scenario where Cody Bradford finds his way out of this rotation at all. And if he keeps pitching like this, you might have to decide whether or not he's more valuable than other members of the starting rotation. Like, he's pitched very well. Nate Eovaldi looks like the ace again. Dane Dunning has pitched very well to start the year. John Gray had a very good and necessary bounce-back performance earlier today. But the fact that Cody has pitched this well has been a very bright spot on this Rangers season so far. Who else has been a bright spot other than Josh Smith? And I know it's only been half the at-bats per se of the average starters, but Josh Smith has needed to step in very early on after the Rangers lost Josh Young, and then they lost Justin Foscue, who we'll get into in a sec. They have needed this infield depth early on, this corner infield depth early on. And Josh Smith has very much delivered when he's asked to. So far in 28 at-bats this season, he's hitting .321. He's driven in 7 runs, and he's got an OPS of .817 in just 28 at-bats. And that's all you can really ask for when he's called upon on short notice. And if not for not getting a hit today in a pinch hit appearance and not getting a hit against the Astros on April 7th, he'd have a hitting streak right now. Like, Josh Smith has 9 hits and 27 at-bats so far this month of April. And not having Josh Young and now not having the extra depth in Justin Foscue, this creates a really prime opportunity for Smith. And he's definitely making the most of it. Doesn't have the power, but that's okay. He's driving in runs. He's getting on base. He's creating opportunities for the Rangers offense. And we know how valuable this offense can be when it gets all of its pieces moving. And I tell you what, I'm glad that he's here. And I'm glad that he's able to help out this team because, it's so hard for a lot of these depth guys to just be called upon at a moment's notice and asked to fill massive roles. Like, think about it from a basketball perspective. A lot of guys, they don't always get to play, so they're stuck on the end of the bench. But every now and then, they'll be called upon and asked to eat up some big, big minutes because a starter is injured or is not going to play for one night. You have to be ready to go. You have to be able to contribute in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself back at the end of the bench. Josh Smith, when called off the end of the bench, has very much delivered in the short time that he's been needed. And they're going to need him a lot longer as we parlay ourselves into the injury update. So when we last spoke, Justin Foscue, another Rangers top prospect, had just been called up, and now he's on the 10-day injured list. He's dealing with a left oblique strain, and so another opportunity for another rookie in the Rangers system, Davis Wenzel, got the call up a couple of days ago. He's still yet to get his first big league hit, so that's something we'll keep an eye on as the Rangers transition to Houston for that upcoming series. And then Josh Young, and maybe this shouldn't come as a surprise because we were made aware of the slight change as far as his timeline is concerned. Instead of the 6 to 8 week timeline, it's now the 8 to 10 week timeline, recovering from his hand injury. He has been transferred to the 60-day injured list, and I'm sure that was so they could get Davis Wenzel's contract selected and added to the 40-man roster, because that was probably the only way they were going to do it. I mean, we talked about it a lot early this season. This team has been dealing with a lot of injuries, but the way that they've been able to overcome them for the most part has been what has been so valuable for the Rangers. All right. So, good news. I got to talk with my guy, my big voiceover guy friend at Big Fast Awesome. And look what he made for me.
Wyatt Watch.
Don't you like that? Isn't that cool? I'll play it one more time.
Wyatt Watch.
Ooh, echoey. All right, as we've teased in the past, we will do a Wyatt Langford check-in on every episode. So as it stands since we last spoke, so that is, we last spoke after the Sunday game against the Astros. So 4 games since we last spoke about Wyatt. Langford is 3 for 12 with an RBI, a run scored, a strikeout, and a walk in the 4 games that he's played since we last did a podcast about it. So far on the season, he's now slashing 240, 291, and 300. The numbers are starting to dip a bit. He has 12 hits on the year, 2 of them for extra bases, a double and a triple. He's driven in 6. He's walked 4 times. That does not include an intentional walk that he has. He has struck out 10 times in a total of 50 at-bats. He also got his first day off of the season on April 10th against the Oakland Athletics. We're getting to that point in the year where and I don't want to say the shine is starting to wear off, because the shine is absolutely not wearing off when it comes to Langford. This is just all right, we're past opening day, we're past opening weekend, all the excitement and the hype is settled for the most part. Now it's time to just go out there and be the awesome everyday hitter that you can be. And that's basically what's next for Wyatt Langford, is go out there and just be the best darn Wyatt Langford that you can be. And that's all we can ask for. And I think he'll be able to do that. There's a couple of teams that he has a really good opportunity to do it against. He did pretty good against the Astros in the games earlier this series. So I think there's going to be another prime opportunity for Wyatt to make the most of his time in the lineup. All right, there's one last thing that I want to touch on before we look ahead to the upcoming Astros series. Jordan Montgomery, who we had mentioned signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks just a couple of days before opening day. And I did my whole soliloquy on why couldn't the Rangers do that? Why couldn't they do 1 year, 25, and then have another option for it? So it turns out, it was reported today by ESPN's Kylie McDaniel, that Montgomery is switching from Boris to Wasserman. So he's changed his representation Something tells me, and maybe this doesn't take a detective's magnifying glass and a hat to figure this out, but something tells me that Jordan Montgomery wasn't too pleased with how his offseason went in terms of finding a new team and a new contract. Something tells me that Scott Boras did not appease the man who was a big part of the ALCS and a big part of the Rangers winning the World Series down the stretch. Something also tells me that I wonder if the Rangers would consider entertaining again this upcoming offseason if Jordan Montgomery decides to exercise out of his player option that he has with the Diamondbacks. At the same time, if Cody Bradford is pitching this well, do the Rangers really need Jordan Montgomery? I haven't looked at a payroll sheet, I should say, for next year, but I don't know, man. Cody Bradford has pitched pretty darn well, and he throws a little bit harder than Jordan Montgomery. And I know velocity shouldn't be everything. There's a lot going on with elbow injuries, but I thought it was just a little interesting tidbit to throw in there towards the end of this episode. All right, final thing, and then we'll get out of here. The upcoming starters for the second edition of the Silver Boot Series, this time from Houston. Slightly different pitching matchups this go around. Slightly. At least if I'm not mistaken. So Dane Dunning will go against JP France on Friday. That'll be a 7:10 local first pitch. Saturday is a prime afternoon game. I believe that one's going to be on national TV. That's Andrew Heaney against Ronel Blanco. Ronel Blanco has still only allowed one hit this entire season. Hopefully the Rangers get a few more hits this next go around against Ronel. And then Sunday afternoon, what is set to be the best pitching matchup of the series, at least on paper, Nate Eovaldi against Christian Javier. The two of them will be going at it, both of them with just 1-0 records and ERAs below 150, on the year. So that is definitely going to be a pitching matchup everybody's going to want to get up for. And I'm curious to see how the Rangers offense responds after really struggle busing towards the ends of the A's and Astros series during this current homestand. And that's all we have for right now. We will be back with you after the Astros series on Sunday. We're also going to try and pick up the frequency of podcasts from 2 episodes a week to try and get it to 3 a week. I'm still working as far as balancing the schedule and all sorts of things like that and trying to figure out, well, okay, what's the best way I can plan this out in terms of getting the content out to you guys. But for right now, we're definitely still going with the 2 episodes per week. We'll have our next episode on Sunday. And be sure that if you like this podcast, share it with your friends. Let your friends know about Believe in Texas Rangers and all the other great baseball content that we have at Believe Networks. Make sure you like the podcast, you subscribe, give it 5 stars, download however you go about it if you're listening on audio. If you're not aware, I post every one of these episodes on my YouTube page. Just search Believe in Texas Rangers, and I believe that it should pop up there. You'll also see my name and my face, Mitch Vareldis. That's what you should be able to see. But that's it for the most part. And until next time, Believe in Texas Rangers.
There are 2 things that are absolutely true. Grandma loves you, and she would never say no to McDonald's. So treat yourself to a Grandma McFlurry with your order today. It's what Grandma would want. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.